Okay guys, so this is going to kind of wrap up our little miniature unit about acceleration. So the last couple things we need to talk about are what these graphs look like for objects speeding up and slowing down. But before we continue, I want to ask this question. What did your graph look like in your lab yesterday? Because in that situation, you had a car that was obviously speeding up. If you're going down a ramp, you're going to start slow and end fast. So what did your graph look like? So answer this question, and hopefully if you get it correct, then you're in pretty good shape. If you're not sure, then you need to make sure and study for your Friday quiz tomorrow. So our first set of graphs that we're going to look at are going to be those of an object that is speeding up. So hopefully if you graphed yours correctly yesterday, you got a graph that looked similar to this, because the car started at 0 and gained speed. The object in this graph is speeding up, because you can see kind of in this first section right here, the object doesn't cover much distance. There's a very small portion of the graph being used. But in the second half of the graph, this one here, there's a lot of distance being covered in about the same amount of time. And if you cover more distance in a shorter time, obviously you're going faster. So this object started slow and sped up, so we have speeding up motion. In this case, our position is increasing, going away from 0, so that means that the direction of this graph is going to be positive. So we have positive direction speeding up. So now we need to think about what the negative direction speeding up would be. So speeding up is going to be covering a small amount of position at first, and since it's in the negative direction, it would be moving towards 0, so my graph would start up here somewhere. So I'm going to start it here, and I'm going to cover just a little bit of ground at first, and then towards the end we want to cover a lot. So this object is also speeding up, but in the negative direction. So now we're going to take a look at what a graph of something slowing down would look like. So in the first case, we're going to look at what something slowing down in the positive direction looks like. So that means that it's going to start at 0 and move away. So something slowing down is going to cover a lot of ground at first, but then not very much ground towards the end. So this object is slowing down, even though the graph is going up. That's something important that you need to remember. On the other side, though, we're going to look at something slowing down in the negative direction. So it's going to be moving towards 0, so we would start it near the top of the graph. So I'm going to start it up here. And so it's going to cover a lot of ground at first, and then start covering less and less. So this object is slowing down in the negative direction. So before I wrap this up, this is important. Just because a graph is going up does not mean it is speeding up. That is extremely important. Pay attention to what's happening to the position. And just because a graph is going down does not mean it's slowing down. An object could just speed up in the negative direction. So pay attention to what's happening to your position. Do not forget about your Friday quiz this week. It's going to be over both of these sets of notes. So if you're still having a little bit of a hard time, review those notes, ask questions if you have them.